So I got the opportunity to see the newest movie, The Iron Claw. This one is a great story about triumph and tragedy. The Iron Claw, for those who don't know, follows the story of the Von Erich family, a wrestling family from the state of Texas. They were as big as it gets, the Beatles in Texas for pro wrestling. This movie does a fantastic job of taking you through the journey of their highs and of their lows. A lot of great things happen in this movie. I definitely recommend it first off before we get into the details. Definitely recommend you going to see this movie. The performances were fantastic. Zac Efron, probably the best performance of his career. You also have Jeremy Allen White in this movie. He does a fantastic job of Gary Von Erich. The one thing I would say as far as casting is if you know what the Von Erich family looked like, you might cast Zac Efron in Carrie's position and Jeremy Allen White in Kevin's, because that's really more of the body type. But trying to sell a movie, you got to get the biggest star out there. In this cast, Zac Efron is the biggest star. The gentleman who plays Fritz Von Erich, he does a fantastic job of showing you a 360 version of a villainous father. It's not one of those villainous fathers where he drives his sons too hard and more. He does show love. He does show compassion towards his sons. He also shows that he ranks them. I thought the character of Fritz Von Erich was fantastic. That was probably the most fleshed out, complete character in the entire movie. The mother in the movie also did a very good job. The great thing I really thought about this movie was how it showed you the brotherly love amongst the brothers. So each time you go through that loss, you feel it. It's not just a tragedy on screen because of how good they are with building up the relationships between the brothers. When things happen, you feel it. So if you're looking to go to see a movie, heartfelt, overcoming the obstacles, this isn't that at all. This is one that you're going to feel for a while. I saw this a couple weeks ago. I'm still in it. I was really emotionally affected by this because of how good the movie is. Little things that I would have changed. I would have shown a little bit more of how influential and big the Von Erichs were in Texas. They do some scenes where you kind of get it. I just thought their rivalry with the Freebirds is one of the greatest rivalries in pro wrestling history. And I understand the movie is about brotherly love and tragedy, but I would have went a little bit more into that aspect. Being a wrestling fan, just wanted a little bit more of that. The casting, as I said, was fantastic, except for one. Whoever cast the Ric Flair, nope, that wasn't it. That guy was bad. That was honestly the only awful thing about the movie, is how bad the Ric Flair was. And it was awful because of you knowing who Ric Flair is. It's also awful because Ric Flair is the most famous person in this movie. A lot of people may go into this not even knowing who the Von Erichs are, but if you say the name Ric Flair in 2024, they're going to know who that is. So you got to get that one right, and they didn't. But overall, this was just a fantastic film. There was so much great contrast of tragedy, but then hope. The great hope part in this movie was Kevin starting his own family with his wife and kids, and how they spun out of this tragedy from his own personal family life and made it into something different. There is some levity. It's not just a train ride right into tragedy. You do get some stopping points where you can laugh and you can smile and you get some hope. So a really good job of showing both aspects of that, specifically for Kevin. The movie is followed through Kevin's eyes. That is our vessel of this entire story. Other things about this film that I thought was great was all of the fantastic montages, them coming up, getting to learn how to wrestle, them getting training from their father, some of the tragedies with Carrie. If you know, you know. If you don't, you'll see in the film. I thought this was probably the best pro wrestling film of all time. Better than The Wrestler, better than some of the documentaries that you see. The only nitpick is the miscast of Ric Flair. There is a brother missing, but as the director said, if he added it, it would have been even more pain, and he didn't think the audience could go through that, but it was fantastic. If I were to give this a rating, which I'm not a movie critic, but my rating for this movie, The Iron Claw, I would give a 9.5 out of 10. I hope you guys go see this movie. I think this is a must-see for a pro wrestling fan. So make sure if it's out in the theaters near you, or if you want to wait till it comes on streaming, make sure you see this movie. As a wrestling fan, you owe it to yourself, even if you know the story.